Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, which means we are back live with my friend Hunter Robinson. Hunter has not been here since last September. Hunter, how we doing?
Doing well. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing fantastic. For everybody that may not remember, because it's been like a completely different world since the last time you were on. First, before we start saying hi to everybody, why don't you introduce yourself again to everybody? And reminder, Hunter's letterbox is in the description below. Give Hunter a follow. He watches some really interesting, unique picks sometimes, and it's nice to dive into somebody that's not watching a lot of the same stuff as the rest of us. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think how I introduced myself the previous time.
Right.
Basically, I'm like a lifelong movie fan. Grew up watching a lot of classic movies with my parents and grandparents. And as I got older, I got really into, action, kung fu, like genre cinema. I love Jolly. And so yeah, and that's I don't know. I guess that's my brief history as a film fan.
Hunter's been hanging around the channel for a long time. He's a patron. You can talk to him on the Discord. He is a wonderful person, and I'm happy to have somebody like-minded on to discuss. And the crazy thing is, we've been sort of planning this since like the moment he got off his last appearance. I think it's September, right?
Yes.
God, 9 months. That's crazy. So yeah, we've been talking about it since then, and the discussion that we were going to have has changed multiple times, and I'm very grateful we didn't go with the big one. At first, we were talking about doing let's do our top 10 just favorite films of all time. And I've been so busy these last 2 weeks. I know that if we had done that, I would have been up to like 4 a.m, probably 3 times, just obsessing over this list.
I'm also glad we didn't do it because my list is so boring. I mean, it's Jaws, Texas Chainsaw, like nobody, these movies have been talked about to death.
Right.
And at this point, I have nothing to add to the conversation. So I think it's for the best.
I agree. Tonight, in case you did not read the description of the title, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite props from films. So we're going to be discussing 5 props from films that are made for that film specifically, not like this cup that everybody had in the 1940s that's in some specific scene, or the Buick in Evil Dead. Yeah, there's 14.3 million of those that were made or whatever. So we're talking about things made specifically for a film as best as we can tell, and I hope people like our list. We're going to be talking about that a long time later. First, we check in with a lot of people that are here already. What's going on, Griff? Dude McMahon just ordered Cry the City from Kino going out of print sale in honor of Will, making me realize how few of the Robert Siodmak's films I've seen. That's a good time to remind everybody that I didn't post about it today, but the Kino Lorber going while supplies last, I guess is what they call it. They added 75 titles to that list today. And a good reminder to everybody, that doesn't necessarily mean jump on there and spend all of your money or these are going to be gone tomorrow. The truth of the matter, some of the items on that Wild Supplies last sale have been there for a year plus. That being said, if there's something that you're worried, like I would be really upset if it was gone, you might want to get it because some of them just disappear out of nowhere. But others, they seem to sit there for a year and a half. So don't feel like you got to drop a ton of money or these will be gone forever. Sibner, so much went down this week. We're going to talk about a few of those things for sure. Let's see. Paul is here. What's going on? Yep, another one looking through the Wild Supplies last sale. Stan Geezy, good evening. Recent watches: Ragtime, Attack of the Demons, Shiny Happy People, and the Duggar documentary. I need to watch that Duggar documentary. My wife is kind of pushing me to watch it with her. And Attack of the Demons, I need to get, especially after what you and I talked about, Stan. Some recent watches. You want to talk about some things you've watched recently, Hunter?
Yeah, so I have one of my recent pickups is the Eureka release of Burning Paradise, which I just watched last weekend and absolutely loved it.
Is that your first time?
First time. Yeah, and it's probably like one of the 3 best movies I've watched this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
I probably agree.
Yeah, and my top 3 are all Hong Kong movies, actually. The John Woo movie. Oh man, Oh, I can't. Oh my gosh, the John Woo movie that's like clearly inspired by Apocalypse Now and the Deer Hunter, Bullet in the Head,
Ah,
Bullet in the Head, and then the Patrick Tam movie, The Sword, and then Burning Paradise.
nice.
I loved the action's amazing, and it's a great setting for a martial arts movie. The kind of gothic setting, like all the skulls and even like the
Yeah.
murals. There's one mural that would make a pretty sweet metal album cover. I mean, it's pretty awesome, and the humor works, which I
The
feel like is
humor
in
is
a Hong
so
Kong,
great.
but it's very funny. So that's probably the best thing I've seen recently. I've also, when I don't have time to watch a movie, I've been watching some episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and there's an episode called, I think it's called The Next Phase, and it's got a great premise. I don't know. Are you a Star Trek fan?
I've tried a few times. I've liked a few of the films enough, but not anything to like be super dive in. I've not seen. I don't think I've seen any of the series all the way through. Although I think I've seen most of Deep Space Nine.
Okay. So this episode, there's a distress signal on a nearby ship, and like 5 characters, beam from the Enterprise to this ship, and 2 of them come back, but there is a malfunction with the beam, and they don't rematerialize. And the crew thinks that they're dead, and they're like planning their funerals, but because of some element on the other ship, the 2 people came back and they're actually like cloaked, and so nobody can see them, but they're there. And but one of them believes that they've died, and they're walking around like saying goodbye to the crew, basically, even though no one can see or hear them. And it's very well done, and I was really impressed with the episode. I've seen like maybe 4 episodes so far, and that's by far the best.
It's an interesting idea, and I could see the nihilism and philosophical questions that would rise from that situation. Yeah, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it was good.
Diving into some more people, Dustin's here. Good evening. Ready for a scintillating night of blue announcements and frivolity. I think we're going to deliver on both of those tonight. We've got quite a few frivolous things to discuss. What's going on, Cam? Terry's here. Nice to know that Disney could get some much needed funds thanks to the French Connection. Discussing that in just a moment, I promise. Ash had a question. If you did not see the comment I left, send me an email. I will check them out for you. I promise. Silent Mandibles here. What's going on? Tony, hello. Z-Pam, hey everyone. Ken Carlson, what is going on, my friend? Jeff K, hello. Distorted Visions, thanks for showing up live, my friend. Hello. Blake is here. Sardis, greetings from Texas. Dave James, hello, my friend. Let's see, Tom is here. What's going on? Sardis, we will answer this question, I promise. French Connection got under a lot of people's skin this week. All right, let's get into that first then. French Connection. So there is an article that went out, I think it was 2 days ago now, and essentially what we have found is that somebody has edited the French Connection on the Criterion channel, and it is missing, I think, 9 seconds of a scene, and the only speculation here is because it includes the N-word. Now, I personally don't agree with going back and censoring any of that. However, if you're going to do it, I really wish they would do it right and at least clean up the scene a little bit. Nope, they didn't care. They went in and it's chopped to hell with a quick cut. It's not well done at all. It completely ruins the pace of that scene. It's bad. It's a terribly jarring edit. This is just another feather in the cap for physical media people, and I understand that a lot of people are very quick in the comments right now to say, this is why I collect, this is why you need to collect, and that's true to a point, but there's a lot of condescension that's coming with that. And then the other side, which is really, really toxic right now, If you go look at the eBay prices on the French Connection in the last 48 hours, there are titles listed for $250 for a Fox Blue that was $5 in like Big Lots a couple years ago. That is crazy. Like, I understand capitalizing on a moment, but also it's one of the best films of all time from one of the best directors of all time. People should just have access to films, and we really should not be censoring films like this retroactively. What do you want to say about the censorship, Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I actually knew some people who had an issue with like HBO having a disclaimer before Gone with the Wind.
Yep.
That's nothing compared to just removing. Even 9 seconds is not that much, but who knows what could happen, how it could affect other movies, and what they're removing says about the character also.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely against it. And one of my friends, I mean, we just talked about this, texted me and said that they watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on the Starz streaming network, and they removed the line "Don't cry in front of the Mexicans,"
which doesn't even make sense to me. That's
No.
not a slur. That's not. I don't know. I don't get it. The situation that we find ourselves in, like, there are changes being made to cinematic history that we have displayed an entire culture through some of these characters. And if we start erasing that, just like we are doing in this country right now with banning books, with removing things that people should see and learn from mistakes of our past, you completely run the risk of putting yourself in this totalitarian regime, essentially, of believing something is true when it's not even remotely true. And it's so hard to look back on that and just be like, cool, this is happening. I don't understand it. And the worst part is to do it silently. Like, Criterion could have come out and said, hey, we were asked to do this. Disney could have come out and said, hey, Friedkin, I know this didn't happen, but Friedkin came back and said, I regretted that. And he has full control over his films. He asked us to remove it. Friedkin would never do that, for anybody that doesn't know. This is the sort of thing that if you do it and don't say anything about it, it brings more attention to the negativity behind it. And I really wish we had some form of transparency here.
Yeah, agreed.
It would be nice to hear a reason. It would be nice to hear the organization that made this happen. And on top of that, it would also be nice to have the option. That is the biggest thing for me, is I'm completely accepting of directors in 2023 looking at a physical media release of something. I have this next to me from 1962. This is a recent pickup that I'm going to talk about, but the director for this is probably long gone because it's 60 years old. But if it's a 40-year-old film, if they come out and say, hey, technology has changed and I want to change this one scene and maybe change the color timing a little bit, that's cool. Do what you want. It's your film. It's your art. However, a lot of us grew up with these films. Give us the option to watch what we maybe have watched 514 times and remember being a big part of this film. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and I appreciate I appreciate like labels that are releasing movies that have animal cruelty, that do cruelty-free versions.
Yeah,
but at least they give us the option. But yeah, when there's no option, I mean, obviously, yeah, that sucks.
It does. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there was another thing that we were talking about right before. You want to bring up the Video Archives podcast?
Yes. So first off, I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I love Tarantino. And when the Video Archives podcast was announced, I was really excited about it. And I listened a lot when it first came out, and then I sort of lost interest. And then I heard about this Rick Dalton series they were doing, and that they had announced the death of Rick Dalton. And so I listened to this week's episode, and when they talk about Rick Dalton as if he was a real person, and actually say like Rick Dalton's performance in this movie, how these adults can pretend like this, just blew my mind. And when it got to the section where Tarantino was reading an interview with Rick Dalton, I was out. I turned it off. I couldn't take any more.
So I'm probably going to lose some points for this. I mentioned this to Hunter right before we went live. I think I've really only heard about a half an episode of the Video Archives podcast, and it came off as a little masturbatory to me, which I get. It's Tarantino. That's kind of one of his shticks. Like, that's been his life for the last 30 years. I completely understand that. So I could deal with that, but it wasn't a priority. Like, the limited time I get in ingesting other people's podcasts lately, that was not one I was going to prioritize. So I didn't really pay attention to it. But then, out of nowhere, some of these other channels that I follow started talking about this whole death of Rick Dalton thing. And I was like, oh, that's a cute week to spend, talking about this as if it's a real person. That's fun. And then they are reporting that it's going on for, I think we're on like 5 or 6 weeks or something. That, to me, that's crazy pants. I don't see doing this make-believe show for 5 or 6 weeks about that.
No. And he's talked about writing a book about Rick Dalton's filmography.
Yeah. Yikes. Anyways, yeah, the other thing that we want to talk about, which is a little less cringe than the Rick Dalton thing, but perhaps a bigger issue, is not only did the French Connection cause some consternation this week, in the world of physical media, we got our own controversy. With 4K Ultra HD discs, we have this wonderful world of not needing to worry about region coding. There is nothing written into the format of 4K UHD discs about region coding. They are not supposed to be able to do that. It is not supposed to be a part of it. Literally, it's not something that was on the table when negotiating how they were going to set up this format. Now, before about 5 or 6 months ago, there was less than 5 titles worldwide that were released on 4K that were region locked. One of them happened to be from Shout Factory. I think it was the Weathering with You 4K. It's an anime that was released that was supposedly accidentally locked region A. Most of the other ones were like German releases of like B movies, basically. Basically, most people were not going to have to worry about it if you were paying attention to this. Out of nowhere, a couple months ago, PlayOn in Germany, they region locked their Region B 4K UHD release of a Bava film. Pissed a lot of people off, but most of the people that were doing that, they had region-free players. They didn't raise that big of a stink. Out of nowhere, people are receiving shipments from Shout Factory this week of the People Under the Stairs 4K and Brotherhood of the Wolf 4K, and they are both region locked. This is ridiculous. On top of that, they responded to somebody's email, and somebody shared the email online, and essentially it was a non-answer. They worded it in a way that they could say, this was a mistake, and we don't anticipate this happening again. They're not saying that they did it on purpose. They're not saying this won't happen again. They're saying we don't anticipate this happening again. So therefore, they could do it again and just continue to pass the blame onto the disc manufacturers or something. This is ridiculous for a myriad of reasons. In 2023, most of the people in this chat tonight are probably those that are buying online for most of their films. I assume, are you the same way, Hunter?
Oh, yeah. Probably 100%.
Yeah, I honestly, I think the only things that I don't do online are the super rare Best Buy pickups of something mainstream that I wanted. I don't know. It's an odd situation for sure. But and I guess I should have asked, are you region free?
Yes,
That's
as
what I
of
thought.
last year. Yeah.
So I am trying to figure out why they would ever do this. Um, First off, Brotherhood of the Wolf has another 4K release that is out there that is region free. You're basically just saying, I don't want money for this release because people are going to be able to buy this elsewhere. The People Under the Stairs, however, this is the only 4K release of this film. And I love The People Under the Stairs. It's one of my favorite Cravens. I think it's really well done. I don't understand why, in this situation, we have such a beloved film that we're just holding up a middle finger to literally the rest of the world. Um, I don't think that there is anything that we could say this could be in the contract because, again, UHD does not have anything in the format about region locking. And if I owned a label and somebody said, "Hey, let's sign this contract, but we're going to include that it has to be region locked," that's not in the format. I'm sorry. I don't know how we can sign that contract at this point. This is
Well,
baffling to me.
With Scream Factory, they might start charging $40 for unlocked UHDs.
Yeah. Scream Factory is making a lot of weird choices with pricing over the last few months, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this made a big stir for a lot of people, and like Tony here, Tony is from the Imprint cast. He's in Australia, and he says for us in Australia, it caused such a stir. Apparently, there will be a replacement program. That is the first I'm hearing about a replacement program. If that's the case, cool. But at the same
Yeah.
time, maybe they were testing the waters and people noticed and they're like, oh shit, maybe we should do something about that. This isn't cool. I am baffled that these companies are doing this, and I really wish that the individuals that could have control over this format would do something about it. Because at this point, we're up to around 10 titles that have been region locked. We shouldn't be adding any more to that list. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Sibner in the chat says, I'm telling you, Shout will be the first major label to go under, at least in the US. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define major label, but at this point, that would not surprise me. There's a lot of people upset about a lot of their choices lately.
I can't tell you the last like Shout or Scream Factory release I even picked up. I mean, it's
the hard part is they're starting to do a lot of the Asian titles that people want in the US. So like the Shaw Brothers classics, people want those box sets, and a lot of people are making the joke about calling them Scratch Factory because they'll show up and half the discs will be scratched. And I mean, if that continues, if they keep having this go on, who's gonna trust them anymore? It's getting pretty bad.
Yeah, I will say their Shaw Brothers sets are like the first things I've been interested in a while. I'm going to wait for a sale, but I probably will get those.
They look nice. And then they did the Jackie Chan collections. They did that.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting the exact title. Is it the Brave Archer collection? It was like 5 films. Yeah. That's one that I wanted, but I mean, again, that one I think that was a site exclusive. I don't understand their choices here.
Yeah, I think that one is a site exclusive.
All right. That's enough, I guess, crapping all over Shout Factory for the night. To sum up the first couple things, censorship is always bad.
Mm-hmm.
And accessibility is always good. And what both of these situations are showing us is that greed will kill a lot of what we love, no matter what. It seems to all come down to money always.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get it. I'm not in that mindset. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it in myself. Speaking of Imprint, I just said Tony's from the Imprint cast. Let me share some recent Imprint arrivals. These are for review that I will be talking about soon. I have I realized the other day I had put up 3 reviews for Imprint films and forgot to schedule them. So those will be going out either starting tomorrow or starting on Tuesday. This one is The Spiral Road from 62, and this has an audio commentary by Daniel Kramer and David Del Valle, who was recently on the channel. Daniel Kramer was. And then Kim Newman is on this one talking about Rock Hudson. Next is a version of The Great Gatsby. This is from 1949. This has an audio commentary by Jason Ney, and then Professor Sarah Churchwell on The Great Gatsby, and then Christina Newland also gives a featurette on this. A lot of these titles this month was looking really good, and actually I was on the Imprint cast the month that these were announced, so I talked about some of these already. The Long Voyage Home, this one is 1940. This has an audio commentary by Elaine Silver and Jim Ursini. And University of Warwick film professor Jose Arroyo speaks on the film as well. And then Cambridge University English professor Jean Chathia on Eugene O'Neill and The Long Voyage Home. Yeah, this one is high up on my list to watch soon. Bus Riley's back in town. This was anticipated for me primarily because of Michael Parks. I've not seen him in enough of his older films, so I'm interested in this. There's an audio commentary on here by Lee Pfeiffer and Paul Scrabo, and film professor Lucy Bolton speaks on Anne Margaret in the features here. It's from 1965. Jeff, I have to, yes. Then I think these last two were my 2 most anticipated from this month. This one, The Catman of Paris. This one looks wild. Very interested in seeing this. This is from 1946. This has an audio commentary by Kim Newman, who's amazing, and Stephen Jones. And then there is a video essay on this called Mark of the Beast, Myth-Making and Masculinity in the Catman of Paris by Kat Ellinger. Very stoked to read and listen to that. The Republic Picture Story feature-length documentary about the pioneering studio featuring hundreds of clips and on-camera interviews. That's from 1991. I will definitely take a look at that. And finally, 1968's Uptight. This is one that was released on Kino Lorber before. Definitely need to see this one. Audio commentary on here by Elaine Silver and Jim Ursini. And then film critic and writer Christina Newland speaks on Uptight. That's from this year. There's also a video essay by Daniel Kramer again, who talks about the radical exiles of Jules Dassin. That was a long time to just keep speaking. Sorry about that. Let's see. We got a couple more chats to talk about. Steve, what's going on, my friend? Sardis, I hope they include Wayne's language coach as an interview. That would have been fun. He's probably long gone. Jeff says, leave the Shaw stuff to Arrow. Daniel, Shout keeps circling the drain with the rehashing of the 4K titles. Meanwhile, Vinegar Syndrome is outdoing them with deeper cut, more gruesome titles. This is true. Joe Jack, is region locking a 4K pure greed or part of licensing? Again, I don't see how it could be part of licensing. That would be a great question. Daniel says, if you pre-ordered anything during Partner Labels only month, check your inbox. VS is sending out $5 coupons and a stacking is active till the 12th. I didn't get one, so hopefully other people got them. Interesting. All right. Are you ready for some announcements, my friend?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Starting with Ghoulies 2 coming from MVD Rewind on September 13th. And now, this is one of the coolest things that I've seen a boutique come out and say. So Eric Wilkinson from MVD Rewind comes out and says, do know I am working diligently behind the scenes to procure the best materials for a future release of Ghoulies 2 on 4K. And in fact, I'm keeping the number 3 spot open in the 4K LaserVision collection for Ghoulies 2 once we are able to move forward. These title licenses have a ticking clock and has been a massive undertaking to get Ghoulies, Swamp Thing, Rain Man, and others prepped for a release. And truth be told, we have to at least get this out while I continue to work behind the scenes on a 4K release of this title. So, if you are really wanting Ghoulies 2 on 4K, he's basically saying, don't buy this because I'm going to do my best to get this out eventually. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm curious to see how this is going to do for them with coming out and saying that. I get the whole licensing thing, but that's a tough sell for a lot of people that are jumping to 4K nowadays.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, I don't actually Ghoulies. I'm not super interested in. But I think if I was, I would just hold out for 4K.
It's a good choice, and I like Ghoulies. I'm not as hot on all of the sequels as everybody else. I don't need to watch Ghoulies Go to College or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that they're fun films to watch every 11 years or whatever. But yeah, this is nice. And then people that don't have this in the U.S. will have access to it. And again, accessibility, always a good
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Next up, The Beast is coming soon from Kino Lorber. This is from 1988 with Jason Patric and Stephen Baldwin. I have not seen this one, I don't think. Have you seen The Beast?
No, I've never heard of this one.
So I looked this up when this got announced, and this has incredible reviews. Like, most people seem to love this title. I don't know how I haven't seen it, considering when it came out. It's most likely one that I probably should have had access to when I was younger, and it just wasn't my thing. And it was directed by Kevin Reynolds, so I definitely should have seen it. I'm eager to see this one, but of course, no release date, as Kino does to us a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Next up, August 8th, they are releasing Strangers in the House, and this is from 1942. This is adapted by Henri Georges Clouzot, and it's from the novel by eminent crime author Georges Simenon, who also did the Maigret titles that they put out recently. There's a new audio commentary on this by Howard S. Berger and Nathaniel Thompson, and looks like a pretty killer noir release from them.
Cool. Yeah, this is another one I'm not familiar with.
Very French.
Yeah.
Very French. Sibner, when you say soon, Ryan, you mean what, 4 years, 5? I mean, there's a couple of their titles that they are very behind on that they've announced. So hopefully kind of soon. All right, so this just came out in theaters this last weekend, but we are getting a Walmart exclusive Blu-ray steelbook. This is not 4K, just Blu-ray of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. There is no date about this yet, but when this was posted, there was no 4K steelbook announced, and now there has been. We'll talk about that in just a little while. Are you clamoring to the theaters to see this, or?
I'm not. I haven't seen the previous one. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Into the Spider-Verse?
I think it's Into the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see the previous one, so yeah, I don't know if I'll see this one either. But the reviews are amazing.
The reviews are astounding. And I got to admit, the previous one might be my favorite comic book movie of all time. It is so well made. It is incredible. And most people are saying this is even better.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Next up, the Kino Lorber titles keep coming, and they are releasing North Dallas 40 from 1979 on 4K. This was a previous imprint release, and once again, Kino is getting one of those and putting out a better release of it, seemingly at least, in the actual film itself. I am not sure if they're going to get all the features that imprint did. They do not seem to be able to do that with a lot of the imprint titles. I feel like imprint is doing a pretty good job of keeping their features exclusive to keep people enticed to coming back to their titles. But the North Dallas 40 release from imprint looked good. This is probably going to be the same restoration and scan that was used for imprint. This will just get an HDR pass and then put out as a UHD. It looked good. I was a fan of the way it looked. I'm not a huge fan of the film, but I hope people that want it enjoy it, because it's probably going to be a decent release.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it would be up my alley, judging from the poster, which maybe I shouldn't do, but
not a 70s sports comedy person.
No.
I get that. Next up, company that we have not heard from in a long time. We are getting 2 titles from Anti-Worlds releasing, which, for those of you that may not remember or may not have ever heard of them, this is like the sister company of Indicator, essentially, in the UK. So Indicator are primarily focused on films that are at least like 15 or 20 years old and way older than that. Anti-World so far has been mostly modern films. Now, they do the same type of case, they do the same type of features, they do the same type of focus on context for the film, on doing really great with essays and delivering short films and everything that they can with it. Yeah, Anti-Worlds is fantastic. That being said, they've not put out very much. They've released, gosh, I want to say like 8 or 10 films, and then this is going to be like number 11 and 12 or something like that. They're great though. If you are interested, you may want to go to their website. I've got that link there. It is anti-worldsreleasing.co.uk, and they've got these up for pre-order, and they are coming on July 24th. And on Murder Me Monster here, which is from 2018, they say that it is our most comprehensive deep dive disc ever, packed with astounding extras created exclusively for Anti-Worlds. Unfortunately, when I posted this, they didn't have any of those listed, so I'm not sure if the special features are listed anywhere, but they always do great work. This one says, a visual feast, but not for the faint of heart. Un certain regard contender, Murder Me Monster is an atmospheric and eerie Argentinian fantasy horror thriller with cult appeal from writer-director Alejandro Fadel, starring newcomer Victor Lopez as a policeman investigating a series of gruesome murders after headless bodies start to appear in the region. The excellent Lopez stars alongside the equally talented Tania Cassiani, Esteban Bigliardi, and Sofia Palomino. When rural police officer Cruz investigates the bizarre case of a headless woman found in a remote area by the Andes Mountains, David, the husband of his lover Francisca, becomes the prime suspect. David is sent to a local mental hospital after he blames the murder on the inexplicable appearance of a monster who he claims brutally beheads its victims after they plea, "Murder me, monster." As more bodies are found, it becomes apparent that the culprit may still be at large, and Cruz must work fast to determine who or what the real monster may be. This sounds awesome to me.
This does sound pretty cool. Yeah, I've never heard of this label before, but this sounds pretty intriguing.
They've done some of the Shudder exclusive titles before they went to Shudder. Like they did, I think it's called Dogs Don't Wear Pants a few years ago.
Okay.
And they did, oh man, they did a couple more that have been released elsewhere, but none of them are like huge, mind-blowing titles. Dogs Don't Wear Pants is just my favorite of their releases so far. That's why I remember that one. But yeah, they are, all of their limited editions are still in print, I believe. They have been very, very like under the radar for a lot of people. So if you are interested and you like the quality of Indicator, and maybe you also like modern films, you may want to take a look at them because they do great stuff. What's going on to my sister? Hello. Next up from Anti-Worlds is Earwig, and this one, if you order it from their site, will have this slipcover exclusively. They didn't even mark which one was the slipcover. I'm assuming this cover right here that looks kind of like a mosaic. And then this building will be the actual inner art. But once again, this is releasing on July 24th, and it is from 2021. And this one says, somewhere in Europe, mid-20th century, Albert is employed to look after Mia, a girl with teeth of ice. Mia never leaves their apartment, where the shutters are always closed. The telephone rings regularly, and the master inquires after Mia's well-being, until the day Albert is instructed that he must prepare the child to leave. This sounds intriguing, at least. I know nothing about this. This is a fairly famous French director's third feature length, and there's going to be a bunch of stuff on this disc as well. Looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, Teeth of Ice might actually be a better title.
It would have been. It's a very creepy visual.
Yeah.
All right, going to the next one. We got some details on the Enter the Dragon 50th Anniversary Collector's Edition, and this one's a little odd. So September 11th on 4K, we're getting this sort of a box set. It looks like a giant collector's edition like they've been doing in the UK for the most part. However, this one says limited edition of 3,000 worldwide. I've not seen a US link for this yet. I'm imagining it's still coming. But as you can see, we got a rigid slipcase on this. It is a steelbook 2-sided theatrical poster, a lenticular cover, 3 double-sided art cards, 3 production notes, and then 3 behind-the-scenes art cards. This one, I'm assuming, is more up your alley.
Yes, for sure. This is definitely up my alley. Now, it's going to be tough because I do want the Arrow set. And so getting the Arrow set and this might be a struggle financially.
Right. And the
So
hard part is the Arrow box is not going to have this in 4K.
Right. And we don't have the cost for this release yet, do we?
I think you can see this on Amazon UK right now, and maybe Zavi. But I mean, obviously, that will probably be different if it gets announced in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Stan says Greta earwig. Wow. Carrie, bum the Anti-Worlds never released Jumbo on disc. Interesting. I didn't know they had Jumbo. Let's see. Saw a screening of Enter the Dragon as a decommissioned ferry. Interesting. Jeff wants to know how quickly that will sell out. This is a film with a giant fan base. I would not be surprised if this is sold out on pre-order, especially because this still has more than 3 months before it's released.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely sure if it's going to last, but also not sure if they're going to announce it everywhere else. Like, are we going to get links or what? I mean, there's a lot of questions in the air there. Now, a lot of people, they've got the Criterion set. They don't see a need to update to 4K on these. Totally get that, especially because there's no new features on this. All of these special features here are the same as, I believe it's even the 40th anniversary edition from 10 years ago. So it's a little disappointing. And we'll talk about special features a little bit and a little more too.
Yeah.
Stan says, I first saw Enter the Dragon on a triple bill with Shriek of the Mutilated and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What in the hell?
Wow.
Well, first off, none of them really fit together, but how did Shriek of the Mutilated get in there? Interesting. Next up, I posted a video with Laurent from Wicked Vision again this week, and basically it was a check-in video after they went to LA. And there are, if you haven't watched it yet, just to try to sell you on a little bit, there are some incredible stories in this. Laurent was possibly almost murdered. He that's burying the lead a little bit. He had a very terrifying night in LA. He had like a mental breakdown and wanted to leave and quit the documentary that they're working on, and was driving along and ended up in this like really personal, magical place for him. So yeah, if you're interested, give the video a watch. I think it's pretty decent.
Oh, it's a great interview. He is so cool. Oh, and when he said that he told his partner that he just wanted to go home, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is almost like tear-inducing.
Right, and it was 8 days into a 21-day trip, and he was just done and exhausted and overwhelmed. Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is next? Kamen Rider Black is coming from Discotheque on August 29th. And this is going to have all 47 episodes presented in 1080p with the original Japanese and English language. Are you much into anime stuff?
You know, it is a complete blind spot for me. I have seen, I mean, outside of like some Miyazaki movies, I haven't seen anything.
I get that. I am essentially the same way. The only thing I've really seen is the first few episodes of the Netflix Castlevania series, which was decent, but it didn't draw me in and make me want to finish it. So there's that. And then I watched Perfect Blue last year and was impressed with it. And that's, if you are any sort of horror and a horror fan that wants to watch anime, Perfect Blue is a great place to start. It was definitely filled with some horror tropes and some fun music and really well done.
Yeah, I've heard that's a great one.
It is. Ice says this is tokusatsu. Ice knows way more about this than me. It's Power Rangers, not anime. My bad. See, showing my true colors of never having seen this. And I didn't put tokusatsu on there. Yeah, I should have known. Thanks, Ice. You're amazing. Next up, this one is interesting. So From the Heart Productions is running a fundraiser for a documentary called Boutique. And the moment I posted this, I'm not going to take full credit, but like all kinds of other pages started posting about this later on that day. This one is interesting because when we posted this, they didn't have any tiers up for like you could get rewards, but now they do, and they're not all that enticing. They are very expensive. There's some things that feels like you should maybe be getting more, but at the same time, it is literally a fundraiser. You are supporting somebody. So I get that the money is supposed to be going to supporting the actual creation of it. I've had a couple people in comments say something like, this feels like it could be a scam or something. How does this cost $50,000? I don't know the person running this directly, but I will say they are a friend of a friend. And as far as I can tell, everything looks legit. Completely looks very, very real to me. And on top of that, they are from Canada. So the travel is going to take a lot of pay. They are probably doing a lot of this in person, and they're trying to do it right. I don't personally know them, but it does look pretty good. Now, they did list some things that they are planning on doing. They've got some subjects like Joe Rubin from Vinegar Syndrome. They've got Leslie Donaldson from Happy Birthday to Me, Curtains and Deadly Eyes, Bill Allen from Rad, David Gregory from Severin, Lizzie Borden, the filmmaker, will be there, who did Born in Flames and Working Girls, John Huckert from The Passing and Hard, Something Weird's Lisa Petrucci, which is really cool, Wes Hurley from Potato Dreams of America, David Blythe, Sam Deegan is going to be a part of it, Tori Potenza, Carolyn Morissette, Peter Kaplowski, Altered Innocences, Frank Jaffe, and then Scooter McRae from Shattered Dead and 16 Tongues, and many more. So I foresee this being pretty decent.
Yeah, there's some cool people involved for sure.
The picture that they were using is making people a little put off, like it's going to be very focused on Vinegar Syndrome, but there's a lot of names involved in this. So I would consider it. This is a great question. Griff says, speaking of Severin, what's going on with their sale? Are they having it or not? Seems weird that they are radio silent on it. I can confirm that they are having a sale, and they the plan, as far as I was aware, was to announce this week. So hopefully we hear something soon. This week would mean tomorrow. So we shall see very soon, hopefully. Next up is that 4K I mentioned of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is a Best Buy exclusive, and you can pre-order this now. And it's a better looking steel than the Walmart one, I think.
Yeah, looks pretty nice.
Now, the odd thing, I didn't pay attention to this, but for those that have played the other things, supposedly some of the art on here is copied and pasted from other pieces of art, like the Spider-Man video game for PS5, and they literally just lifted it and put it on this steel. Not sure if that's even from the film, but it's Sony. They own it all. Doesn't really matter. Speaking of 4K and steelbooks, August 1st, we are getting one of my favorites from John Hughes. Ferris Bueller's Day Off from 1986 is coming on a 4K steelbook and standard release. And because it's from Paramount, it won't be exclusive anywhere. You can get this anywhere. This will be Amazon. Orbital will probably get it. Grindhouse will probably get it. Diabolic will probably get it. Probably can get this in store at Best Buy. If that's what you're into. A lot of people are reporting that their targets are depleted down to nothing, so probably not there except online. But then the thing that I was mentioning just a minute ago, which we should probably talk about for a second, no new special features. This is odd to me. I'm glad that they're putting it out. I'm glad that the audio commentary with John Hughes is back. That was out, I believe, on all of the Blu-rays. I don't think it's been available since the DVD days. But also, this is a 37-year-old film that impacted a lot of people that are now working in home video.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think you could get anybody to discuss Ferris Bueller? You don't think you could get somebody to do this for free and discuss on a Paramount release, or do an interview with Broderick that takes 5 minutes, or Jennifer Grey, or I mean, anything. Alan Ruck would have been thrilled to speak on this, I'm sure. This is rough.
Yeah.
I would love to get more features on this. And the rumor for a while was that Criterion was going to put this out. And I was excited that maybe we would get something, but even then, Criterion hasn't been doing a lot of extra. I don't know. I love this movie. What do you think about Ferris Bueller?
You know, I have never seen this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Yeah. It's just one I just have not gotten a chance to see yet.
A lot of people don't love it. Paul says they're probably not going to talk to the principal, though. This is correct. He's a terrible person. Let's go to the next one. Vestron, they announced this last week, but we got some details on My Best Friend is a Vampire. This is going to have an audio commentary with the director Jimmy Houston and Nathaniel Thompson. They're going to have a conversation with the writer and associate producer Tab Murphy and the production executive Ken Aguado. There's going to be an interview with actor Paul Wilson, and then the standard trailers and galleries and all that. This is up now for pre-order and seems to be fairly low priced like the other ones, maybe slightly higher, but it's also a while till release date and could go down even more. That's July 25th, just in case you forgot. Next up, we got some release details for Clay Dream that's coming from Oscilloscope. I announced this last November as coming in the spring, and then it got slightly delayed. This is finally coming out at the end of this month on June 27th. And the coolest thing on here is that this is a story about Will Vinton, who revolutionized the animation business during the 80s and 90s and created all kinds of iconic characters like the California Raisins and the Noid for Domino's. But then the most important thing is that this is going to have the entirety of Will Vinton's animated short filmography from the 20th century, all the way from 1974 through 1982. And there's a lot of stuff it's including. I'm very glad to be getting this as part of my Circle of Trust from Oscilloscope. They've done some incredible things, and I love animation, so I'm very, very curious to see this.
Yeah, this sounds pretty interesting, actually. I recognize his name, but I can't recall what I've seen of his.
Yeah, I love this. Paul is pointing out one of the extras here. It says an odd uncut voicemail from Michael Jackson to Will Vinton. What is that? I cannot wait to hear that. Next up, there is a flash sale that is going on at Ronin Flix right now, and this ends on June 11th at midnight Pacific. And just like with Ronin Flix, a lot of their sales have discount codes. And for this one, you get an extra 30% off with a purchase of 3 or more titles, extra 40% off with 4 or more, extra 50% off with 5 or more. But then it says discount code automatically applied to eligible carts. So go to their site, look at the section that is going to have the sale titles. They've got a couple new packs that they're selling from. Ronin Flix has all kinds of titles. Recommend Haunt from them that they put out themselves. They've got a lot of the old Scorpion titles. Yeah, check it out. Stan is interested in the Will Vinton item. Jeremy's here. What's going on, my friend? Let's go to the next one. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. September 5th, we are getting Matilda on 4K. And this is a Sony title, so it's going to look great on 4K. The cool thing, just like we just talked about with Ferris Bueller, this is getting an all-new commentary from the man, Danny DeVito. What do you think of Matilda? Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't seen this either.
Man, Hunter, I don't, if you don't want to say it, don't answer. How old are you?
Oh, 39.
Okay, so you're just older than me. Maybe
Mhm.
this just passed you over. This came out in 96. So let's see, you would have been about 12. So yeah, probably a little too cool when this came out,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm trying to think what I would have been watching. Because when I was a kid, I mostly watched older movies because my parents were very strict about what I could watch. And so I mostly, if it came out after 1960, I had to ask my dad for permission to watch it.
Wow. I don't think you mentioned that the first time, and I don't think you've mentioned that in the Discord. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so there were a few movies that snuck in, the original Star Wars trilogy, Jaws, and I think at least Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Turtles movies.
Whole bunch of classics and the
Yeah.
Turtles movies.
So, so those movies somehow got in, but everything else, it was an uphill battle.
So I had Ken Carlson, friend of the channel, who's in the chat earlier. Not sure if he's still watching. He messaged me about this one and said, basically, you've got to be kidding that they are putting this out on 4K before some of these other classics. And I had to explain, like, Matilda is a generation defining film for a lot of people. And the funny thing is, this thing was basically a failure on release. A lot of people saw this as not a great movie. This was looked down on for a long time until about a decade later, when a lot of people that were younger in the 90s that were really able to speak up and defend a lot of this. Plus, the stories came out about how Danny DeVito kind of cared about the star of this film, Mara Wilson himself. This movie is incredible. It depicts, the story of real bullying in a family, basically, like the fact that a child can be bullied by parents, and that's not something that a lot of movies are open to sharing. And so, for a lot of people that went through a childhood that wasn't great, this is like a representational film for them, and I completely agree. This is one that I was in love with. It is a film for kids that were bullied. This is a film for kids that wanted to see something sort of supernatural, but also rooted in some reality. And then Danny DeVito, he just brings that magic to everything he touches, and he directed this. He killed this movie.
Oh, I didn't know that he ever directed.
Yeah, he did really well, and he's one of the main characters, obviously. And Rhea Perlman, or Rhea Perlman, however you say her first name, she's in this as well. And yeah, this is incredible. I love all this love for Matilda in the chat. Paul Huggins, who is a teacher, says, I have 18 to 20-year-olds that are students that write about Matilda. Eric saw Matilda in the theater when it came out when he was 28. Nice. Z-Pam, born in 94, grew up with Matilda on VHS. Carrie, also a film for kids that were bullied. This is true.
Absolutely.
Anthony says she will always be the little girl in Mrs. Doubtfire to me. Yes, yes. He also directed War of the Roses, says Sibner. I don't think I've seen War of the Roses.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Wait, did Danny DeVito direct Mermaids? Somebody's got to look that up and confirm. That's crazy if so. Interesting. I had no idea. I haven't seen Mermaids in forever, but I would love to know that. Let's go to the next one. I'm sure somebody will confirm in just a moment. Oh, well, that's not awkward at all. So my next one is a little bit of self-promotion. So I just recently changed up my Patreon stuff a lot. I've got a whole lot of tiers here, and I'm working on a lot of extra content behind the scenes, and there's not a real great way to share with everybody that I'm doing this. So, hey, just a moment. I will say this. Okay, he did not direct Mermaids. Good to know. God dang. Danny DeVito directed Death to Smoochie? Are you serious? How did I not know this? Anyways. Okay, so some of the things that I'm working on. I'm doing limited edition quarterly merch and sending that out to everybody. Handwritten notes, sent like Christmas cards, thank you notes, stuff like that. I'm going to be working on my own exclusive content like visual essays and commentaries. To be sharing personal updates, pickup videos, stuff like that. And one of the coolest things is I am starting a monthly physical media newsletter that is going to be a roundup of some stuff that got announced in the last month, but also more than that, some items from people in the community that they're not sharing elsewhere. I'm going to be highlighting some news that really doesn't get spread enough, like replacement programs. I'm going to be listing items such as pushed release dates that people don't really talk about enough, and trying to get more of the actual news in there. And then I'm going to have some fun with it. There's going to be a lot of other stuff. The first one is probably going to go out about a week from today. I'm going to try to do it around the 15th of each month. And if you're interested, it's the perfect time to sign up and yeah, check it out. We would love to have you in the Discord. And if you sign up to get that newsletter, you are in the Discord as well. So make sure that you are getting your login info for Discord attached to the Patreon. This one is disappointing to me. So so coming soon from Disney, and the rumor for this is the first week of July, but we are getting a Best Buy exclusive 4K steelbook for The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love this film. I love that this is coming out on 4K. Stoked on it. Oh my God, I'm so tired of these Disney 100 steelbooks. This is so disappointing for this film. For such a beautifully made film. It is great. Love this. So many colors. Would have looked amazing. Griff says, does the Patreon matter if you pay monthly or all at once for a year? No. If you do all at once for a year, you even get a discount. So yeah, it's totally fine to sign up all at once at the beginning. I think you're going to like the newsletter if that's what you want. So this steelbook, they are doing this to, I think they were called the Disney Treasures tins that they did a handful of years ago. They're trying to look like that. These are awful. These steelbooks, they had so many ideas that they could have ran with, and they go with an all silver steelbook with a little rectangular cutout with Jack Skellington in the front, and that's all you get.
Yeah, with a title like this, like the possibilities are endless for the quality of art you can have on the steelbook.
They released this just a few years ago, and this is a Blu-ray steelbook, and the front at least glows in the dark. This isn't a great steelbook either, but at least it glows in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, the art on this could have been so much better, and this one is even worse. It is wild. I don't know. This hurts. Dead Sea Life says Disney Treasures tins were great. We'll never see those again. I have all of them but 3. Some of them go for like $150 now or more. That's a lot. If they turn the steels inside out, they would be 10 times better. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
The inside is way better. This doesn't look like Tim Burton at all to me. All right. Again, happy this is coming on 4K. Wish they would have done something different with the packaging. And honestly, it'll probably get a standard anyways. This is one of the biggest money makers for Disney. Next up, we got 2 more Radiance titles announced. So this one is coming in the UK and the US on September 18th and 19th, respectively. This is called The Dead Mother from 1993, and the art here is fairly striking. I'm into that. This one says, Ishmael breaks into the house of a fine art restorer and shoots the homeowner dead, leaving her daughter orphaned and traumatized for life. Years later, Ishmael is working in a bar where he sees the daughter again. Paranoid that she has recognized him and will report him, he kidnaps her and holds her hostage, demanding that her hospital pay a ransom for her release. As he spends more time with her, a strange bond develops that causes him to delay the ransom request or fulfill his threats of throwing her in front of a train. But he can't delay forever. A gothic thriller with pitch-black humor that recalls the Coen brothers, Juan Mabajo Ulloa's sophomore feature won a host of prestigious international awards and was a precursor to the Spanish genre explosion. I am dying to see this. The moment this was announced, I was so intrigued. This story sounds fantastic. We're getting a lot of special features on here, just like Radiance has been doing on every release. A documentary on the making of the film with behind-the-scenes images and interviews. There is a 1989 Goya award-winning short film by Ulloa that's been restored as well, which is 40 minutes long. That's a lot more than just a standard short. You've got your gallery behind the scenes, promotional images, and then new artwork as well. Plus a booklet with new writing on the film by Xavier Aldana Reyes, author of the Spanish Gothic, National Identity, Collaboration, and Cultural Adaptation, and then some archival writing as well. Plus, I totally forgot about this. This also will have the soundtrack CD, which is great. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is pretty intriguing. I mean, I've never heard of this, which actually that makes me more excited. I love that Radiant seems to be releasing a lot of stuff that is just completely, brand new to me. But yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. Now, when I first saw the cover art, it did remind me of Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Oh, and
as the comment on the screen says at the moment, yeah. I agree, and I'm very curious to see how that fits in with the film. I've been a big fan of Spanish cinema over the last couple of years. I definitely want to see more of it, and I'm glad that they are continuing to put it out.
Now, I will say nothing about this vibe makes me think of the Coen brothers. Which is didn't they reference the Coen brothers in the...
They did, yeah. They said black humor that recalls the Coen brothers. So if there's humor, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Next up, the other one that they're putting out is Scream and Scream Again from 1970 with the GOATs, Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. This has had multiple Blu-ray releases in the States. This has never been released in the UK. So September 18th, only in the UK. This is getting its UK debut on Blue. We got a commentary on this with Kevin Lyons, author of the Encyclopedia of Fantastic Film and Television, and Jonathan Rigby, who is the author of English Gothic Classic Horror Cinema from 1897 to 2015. New interviews with actors Julian Holloway and Christopher Matthews, the editor Peter Elliott, and prop man Arthur Wicks. Ramsey Campbell does a featurette on Christopher Wicking and Peter Saxon. There is a Gentleman Gothic, Gordon Hessler at American International Pictures, a documentary on the filmmaker's work for the studio featuring Hessler and critics Jeff Burr, David Delval, Steve Haberman, and C. Courtney Joyner. That's from 2015. And then an archival interview with Uda Levka from 1999, a Super 8 version. We were talking about including other versions. This is one. They're putting on a Super 8 version, a reconstruction of the cut-down version, distributed as the living corpses of Dr. Mabuse. And then Mick Garris trailer commentary as well. And limited edition booklet featuring new writing by Ann Bilson. This looks like a pretty solid release for this film.
Yeah, this looks pretty great. And I like Kevin Lyons, who does the commentary. He's a frequent guest on the Evolution of Horror podcast, which I'm a pretty big fan of.
And Jonathan Rigby has done a lot over the years as well. I think he was on a lot of the Arrow Academy titles. So a lot of these names people recognize. And when Fran Simeone, who runs Radiance, used to work at Arrow, he's got a lot of those people that are just in his stable. And he's going to approach a lot of the people that he knows. This release is available in the Kino Wild Supplies last sale right now, which means it's going out of print in the US, which kind of sad. Maybe if it went out of print a couple months earlier, maybe Radiance could have released it in the US as well. But yeah, if you want it, you may want to pick it up from Kino. If you are not region free, this one will likely be region B locked. Paul Berryman says Jonathan Rigby is great. He did good work with a lot of Hammer releases. Heck yes. Next up, another one with no new features. We are getting on August 1st a 4K collector's edition called the Universal Essentials Collection of The Big Lebowski. And of course, we were just talking about the Coen brothers. Perfect timing to bring this up. For this one, we're getting a slipcase, a reversible sleeve on the film, a certificate of authenticity, which will be for a film cell replica that they're including, some art cards, and a collectible booklet. and then a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. Solid looking release, but again, this is likely not going to include any new special features. This was already released on 4K. I don't think there's any new restoration work that had been done to this. This just looks like a classic studio putting out the same film with the same disc for more money.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I feel like so many people would want to be involved in you could get a feature-length documentary made about this movie easily.
I want to see a 2023 interview with Tara Reid about this film.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Dude McMahon says, I like The Big Lebowski, but never understood the obsessive cult following it has. I think there are better Coen Brothers films. It's because there are.
Agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Honestly, The Big Lebowski isn't even top 5 Coen Brothers for me.
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's like I'd give it maybe like a 3.5 out of 5, something like that.
It's funny and it's got some incredible setups, but yeah, it's when you're the Coen Brothers, you're going to do a lot better on some other films. Let's keep going with some Warner Archive titles. Hey, all of these are before 1960. Maybe you've seen these ones.
Yes, I'm allowed to see these for sure.
Now you're allowed to see them. July 25th. These are when all of these are coming out from Warner Archive. July 25th, we're getting 6 titles from them in July, which is great. We're getting Helen of Troy from 1956. This is going to have all of these, I believe, has some special features on there. We got 3 behind-the-camera sequences from the Warner Brothers Presents TV series called The Look of Troy, Interviewing Helen, and Sounds of Homeric Troy. There's also a Warner Brothers cartoon called Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, me neither. I have not seen this one. Jeremy, are you saying who even are you anymore to me? Because I'm saying that The Big Lebowski is not even top 5 Coen. I mean, yeah, look at their filmography. You'll be all right. They have much better stuff. The next one, The Fastest Gun Alive from 1956. And this is, of course, the Glenn Ford film. And for special features, they've got Tom and Jerry cartoons, Blue Cat Blues, and Downbeat Bear, and then the original theatrical trailer. How about this one?
Yeah, I think I've seen this one. I watched a ton of Westerns with my grandfathers. And one of my grandfathers really was a Glenn Ford fan. I think, is it Jean Crane is in this?
That's
Jean Crane, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I used to really like her. I think she's really good.
What's going on, Video Store Review? I'm glad you're here with me. Jeremy just texted me and said, how dare you say that about The Big Lebowski? Come on, Jeremy. You can do it. There's so many better Coen Brothers films than this. Come on.
And even if there aren't, you just like other ones more.
This is true. This is true. Eli Cortez says Diabolic just shipped his Arrow Empire of Screams. Very nice. I think a lot of people are extremely excited about that release. I still need to find a way to pre-order. Well, I guess maybe not pre-order, maybe order it. Jeremy. Oh, man. It's hard to check text and chat, Jeremy. Come on. Next one, The Last Time I Saw Paris from 1954 with Elizabeth Taylor, Van Johnson, Donna Reed, and Walter Pidgeon. This one is going to have a Tom and Jerry cartoon, Touche Pussycat, and then the original trailer for this one. Yeah, this says it's a story of love and dreams found and lost in the City of Lights. The Last Time I Saw Paris, when reporter Charles Wills travels to Paris to cover the Allies' victory in World War II, he falls in love with and marries the stunningly beautiful Helen Ellsworth. The young newlyweds choose to stay in Paris, where Charles tries to make his way as a writer, but years of struggle, rejection, and poverty take their toll on the Wills marriage, and the two drift into affairs with others as their love and dreams fade. Now, after years of disillusion and tragedy, Charles returns to Paris, but can he rediscover the passion and dreams that once came so easily? Yeah, it seems like a very Elizabeth Taylor film.
Yeah, I've definitely seen this for sure. I think I've probably seen every Elizabeth Taylor movie from National Velvet through Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Nice. Ken is here from Mid-Level Media and says Big Lebowski might not even make it to my top 10 Coens, which that might be a hot take, but I'd have to list them out because now that I think about it, you might be right. I don't know. I still love the Big Lebowski. The Coens are incredible. Next up is Cimarron from 1931. This one is coming with Lady Play Your Mandolin, a Warner Brothers cartoon, Red-Headed Baby, another cartoon, and then The Devil's Cabaret, which is an MGM short. They are just throwing a lot of the ones that they have licensing for on all these discs, and I love that.
Yeah.
Because they're probably not available in HD anywhere else. Let's see. Jeremy is still upset. He says his heart. That's amazing. This has already kind of been talked about, Paul. We are talking about the Coen Brothers films probably fairly soon. All right, next up, The Broadway Melody from 1929. Warner Archive going way back there this time. This is going to have Metro Movietone review shorts. And oddly, they got access to numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. Van and Schenck Metro Movietone Act. I'm curious if 5 and 6, the materials are bad, or maybe they couldn't license it. Something must be going on there.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one, but there are other Broadway Melody movies. There's Broadway Melody of 36, Broadway Melody of 38, and I think Broadway Melody of 40. And they're all good. Broadway Melody of 40 has Fred Astaire and Eleanor Powell. It's if you're into musicals, it's a great classic musical. And I think Eleanor Powell's in the 36 and the 38 Broadway Melodies as well.
Interesting. So I did want to point out, is that the last one? Oh, no, there's one more. Okay, so the last Warner Archive is Dewberry Was a Lady. This is from 1943, and this will have Seeing Hands, an MGM short, an MGM cartoon called Ba Wilderness, and then the original trailer. In this film, we got Red Skelton, Lucille Ball, Gene Kelly. This one is one of the most enticing ones from this month for me. Looks great. It's Lucy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I actually meant to, and recently I watched a movie with an early Lucille Ball performance. It was called Stage Door, directed by Gregory LaCava, and it's got Katharine Hepburn, Ginger Rogers, and Lucille Ball. And it's a great like screwball comedy, and it's a great early role for Lucille Ball. You can see that she was going to become a star for sure.
Yeah. Nice. So one of the things I wanted to point out, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2. I think Broadway Melody or Cimarron, or maybe both. I read about this the other day. Now I'm forgetting, and I'm an idiot and a terrible host. I'm sorry. One or both of them had won the Best Picture Oscar. And I believe now... What's that?
Cimarron won.
Okay, Cimarron won. Yeah. So I believe now we're down to only 3 or 4 Best Picture winners that have never been released on Blu-ray. We're getting very, very close. So if you are going for that type of collection where you want all the best pictures on Blu-ray, this is going to be the one that you're paying attention to, and you're just getting that much closer to getting all of them in HD, which is great. They should be, obviously. If you're a Best Picture winner, it should have access to it.
Yeah.
Next up, we got some release details for the Audie Murphy Collection number 3 from Kino. This is coming on August 15th, which is my wife, Miss Connected's birthday. We got a new audio commentary for Hellbent for Leather by Toby Rohn. We got a new audio commentary for Posse from Hell by C. Courtney Joyner and Henry Park. and Showdown gets nothing. I don't know why they did that. It seems like they could have got anybody to do a commentary for the last one. They just said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, I've at least seen Posse from Hell and Hellbent for Leather. I don't recognize the title Showdown, but yeah, I've seen quite a few Audie Murphy movies.
Hellbent for Leather is the big one that a lot of people have been waiting on. So I'm glad this is coming out. And I almost feel like we're probably going to get another Audie Murphy collection. Kino really loves the Audie Murphy sets.
Yeah, I mean, they could be releasing Audie Murphy Collection 17 in about 6 months.
This is true. Let's see. Next up, oh gosh, another 3 times in one episode. A little bit of self-promotion. I don't know that I've even ever talked about it live during the show, but I co-host another podcast called The Incinerator. And I co-host that with Billy Ray Bruton, who's been on the show before. And we are doing something crazy where if you sign up for the Patreon for The Incinerator in the month of June, we are entering you into 3 different prize packs. The grand prize winner is going to get an all expenses paid trip to the Make Believe Film Festival in Seattle. Literally in 2024. All expenses paid trip. Second prize is going to get a physical media prize pack curated by me. And then third prize is going to be getting the Cinephile Game Night card game. If you've ever played, it's a lot of fun. We do Cinephile a lot in the Incinerator. If you've never given it a listen, please go give it a listen. It's a really fun show. And now we are also doing video, which is kind of amazing. So if you sign up for the Patreon, you can see some of the video episodes of the show. And we get guests that you're going to want to see. And their reactions to some of these landmines that we do on the show is amazing. If you've never heard of the show, real quick, it is a subverted movie, music, everything elimination game. The first year we were only movies, but now we've gone into more obscure things. Like pretty soon, I think we're doing an episode, Incinerated Movie Podcast. And so we get a list of 16, and 2 guests have to decide which ones are going into the incinerator, never to be seen again. In season 2, we've had the engineers come on and take place in the show live. And then there are new landmines that we're developing all the time. The winner of season 2 is going to get $1,000 to the charity of their choice. So it's a lot of fun. Please come check it out. Let's go to the next one, which is Skinamarink from Shudder and RLJE Films is coming as a Walmart exclusive steelbook. I'm very curious. You probably did not watch this, did you?
No, I haven't seen this.
Curious, anybody in the chat really love Skinamarink? Like, I know Celeste really loved it. There's a handful of people that this really, really worked for. This really did not work for me. Yeah, I did not like this movie. Video Store, if you ever want to guest from across the pond, let me know. I do. Send me an email. Let's talk. We are trying to book out a couple more episodes for the rest of this year. Send me an email. There you go. Silent Mandible says, quite liked it. Reminded me of childhood. Jeremy Long did not like it. Holland said, conflicted on Skinamarink. Ash says it was a slow burn, not for me. Fell asleep and the phone woke me up. Stan says, I didn't love it, but I admire its audacity. Dustin says, I appreciate it more than loved it. And that's one, that is exactly what I would say, is I could not stand to watch it, but I was impressed that they got it made. Also super impressed that it played on so many major theaters. Like, this had actual screen time in a lot of cities, which is crazy to me. And I do bet if I saw this in a theater, I would have liked it a lot more than I did at home. Chris says it worked like fuck for me. Nice. Interesting. Carrie Mulligan, I love Skinamarink the second time and was intrigued but confused the first time. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know that I could bring myself to watch it a second time unless it was in a theater. I might actually do that if I had another opportunity.
Didn't Celeste say it was the scariest movie they've ever seen?
Yes. Wow. And if people are interested in somebody just to see how it worked, Celeste put out like a really nice, I think it was like 15-minute or maybe even like 20-minute analysis of the film, saying why it was so effective for them and saying a lot of basically what we were just summing it up as is that it's impressive and done in this really audacious style, but there are certain things that worked for people and certain things that didn't. And I think for a lot of people, the way that you were raised actually could dictate if you appreciate this or not. So, yeah. Carrie says, I love that the Blu-ray gets a commentary. Me too. I do kind of want to hear that commentary just to see what they say. Watching it in the theater twice was the best one. Man, I'm jealous. Yeah, I wish I had more theater time. Brian wants to know, do we think the success of Terrifier is helping to get these flicks out to theaters? And he does mean Terrifier 2. I don't think Terrifier 2 specifically helped this one, but I think it will help more in the future. Terrifier 2 was a sudden hit for a huge movie now. It was very much an indie and got a lot done behind the scenes. Terrifier 2, it just won Fangoria Chainsaw Award or 3, maybe something like that. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what we're going to see in the near future. Chris says, watched it in a small packed theater, definitely helped. It cost nothing and made a mint. Yeah, that's true. The audio was intense in the theater. Had my fingers ready to drive into my ears at one point. Yeesh. Interesting. July 25th, WB is giving us Justice League Warlord on 4K. Are you into any of these DC animated films?
No, I haven't seen any of them.
I've seen a couple of them, and this one is intriguing. The one thing that gets to me is they seem to be just arbitrarily deciding certain ones going on 4K and certain ones not. But their animation is honestly pretty decent, and a lot of the DC animated stuff is way better than what they've done for the live action films. So yeah, highly recommend a lot of the DC animated films. Plus they got actual features on here. So check that one out. That one is July 25th on 4K. Big Lebowski is also getting a 4K Steelbook. Not a big fan of this design, but if you don't need that giant packages with all the art cards and everything fancy, I think this was like $24 on Best Buy right now. The other package will likely be $35 plus. Oh, did I say the wrong title? Stan, what was it called? Whoops. Oh yeah, Justice League War World, not Warlord. I was reading quickly. Sorry. Yeah, Big Lebowski. Not a big fan of this art. I'm usually not a fan of the pop art style steelbook. But I don't want to spend too much time on this, or Jeremy Long will have a migraine or something. Here's a film I like. Coming on September 18th in the UK, and this is going to be in a 4K steelbook, is Duel from Steven Spielberg from 1971. This is getting a 4K gloss steelbook, a lenticular slipcase over the steelbook, a roadmap storyboard booklet, 6 lobby cards, a double-sided poster, and also includes the original TV movie version of Duel. And yeah, this looks like a solid release. This is limited to 3,000 again, and this is only in the UK. We're also going to be getting a 4K steelbook in the US from Groove, who is the online storefront of Universal. They have not technically announced that one yet. They announced it. They haven't put it up for pre-order or anything. I imagine it'll be coming somewhere around when this one is coming out as well.
Yeah, this looks pretty awesome.
Yeah. Are you into Duel? Have you seen it many times?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. Well, I've probably seen it maybe 3 times.
I think that this film gets a lot less love than it should. Duel is very fun.
Yeah, it's really good.
Jeremy is prepping his throwing star as we speak. That's a good joke. I love that. Go. Oh no, I was going to say go on to the next one. That is it for this week. Hell of a week. Like a lot of big titles. Not a huge number of titles, but a lot of big titles. And then, as usual, we will go over what is coming next week in case you forgot. And this coming week, this is a pretty big week. We've got the Super Mario Brothers movie is coming out. This one is odd because this didn't have a set release date until I think it was Tuesday. And by then, a lot of people have received their stuff from Best Buy already. Like they were receiving it last weekend. So very interesting. Sibner, we talked about Network going out of business last week, my friend. Yeah, that was announced last Wednesday or Thursday, actually. Yeah, we talked about that last time. Next week is also John Wick Chapter 4. That's probably going to be the big seller, of course. Rain Man coming in 4K from MVD finally. This one's been delayed once or twice, I think. Time Bandits coming in 4K from Criterion. That Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1 from Shout Factory is releasing. Scream in 4K from Dark Force, which I believe this is the wide release of that. The Mexico Macabre box set from Indicator. The Great Train Robbery coming from Kino next week. The Package coming from Kino as well. Gorky Park from Kino. From Hollywood to Heaven coming from Indicator. The Pope's Exorcist has already gotten too much screen time, probably. Juggernaut coming from Kino. The Draftsman's Contract from Kino as well. Dr. Caligari from Mondo Macabro gets a retail version on Blu-ray. Now, I believe they had teased that there might be something coming in the future for another 4K release of that. But at the moment, that is going to be the only way to see that film if you don't have the 4K. Killzone and Witch Trap coming from MVD Rewind next week. And High Diddle Diddle coming from Classic Flicks. Sakura coming from Welgo. Caliber 9 from Raro Video. Raymond Griffith, the Silk... what is this called again? The Silk Hat Comedian. That is coming from Undercrank Productions next week. A Question of Silence coming from Cult Epics next week. Sound of Summer from Unearthed Films. And gosh, this is a lot for 1 week. The Oyster Princess from Kino Classics. Scorpio, I think that is Code Red, maybe? Polite Society coming out next week as well. That's a big one. And Cheap Thrills gets a re-release next week. Any of these that you are keen on picking up, sir?
Yeah, I'll get John Wick 4 at some point. And I'll probably get that Shaw Brothers set. I am curious about the Caliber 9 Blu-ray because that's part of one of the Fernando DeLeo sets. Yep. But this has a new scan, doesn't it?
It's a full new 4K master, so it probably looks a lot better. A lot better. I skipped over Project Alf knowing you would say something, Anthony. Stan, a whole bunch of us used to work for Blu-ray. Wow, I can't speak. Used to work for Best Buy. Not myself, but a handful of us. Like I know Cam did for sure. Let's see. Sibner says I must have blanked out on the network discussion last week. Dude McMahon heard that the Dark Force Scream 4K looks awesome, but is incredibly boring. Never seen it though. I mean, from what I've heard, the 4K barely looks any different from the Blu-ray, so I'm not entirely sure. Kerry Mulligan says Polite Society is awesome. I need to watch it. The trailer I saw for it looked incredible.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty fun.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a big thing. There are so many versions of John Wick 4 coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the second half of this. I'll just wait till Black Friday when it'll come free with every purchase. Oh, that's a great comment. Joe Jack worked at Blockbuster. I think a lot of people in the chat probably worked at a video store as well. Do you have any fun used to work at a video store or Best Buy or physical media or anything like that?
No physical media. I will say I used to go to Blockbuster a lot, and they offered me a job. I used to talk to the employees there all the time, and they offered me a job, and I had another job at the time. So yeah, never worked in a place like that.
Missed opportunity. You could have got bought out by Netflix at some point. All right. The discussion tonight, like we alluded to, is going to be on movie props. So this is one that you had brought up when we were throwing some ideas back and forth. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever asked, is there something that brought the idea of movie props on? Like you watch something and you're like, man, that's a good idea.
No, I don't think so. I was just trying to think of different topics we could talk about, because some of mine that I sent over, like the favorite movies thing, we had to get rid of that idea.
and then and we were planning on that for months too.
Yeah. And then some of the ideas were maybe too obscure. Like like we talked about doing
period pieces for a while.
Or like what was it? like black and white foreign movies or something.
Yep. It's
And
so specific. I love it.
and I was just like, it needs to be more fun. And I know people who aren't even, who are kind of casual movie fans who love like a certain franchise or a certain movie, and will look up like movie memorabilia auctions when they hear like something from Aliens is for sale or something like
Right.
that. And so I was just like, well, props is something that people in the chat could engage with, because I'm sure that they have, props they would love to have.
Of course.
So yeah.
I'm very curious to see what people are going to say about this one, because there are so many that I started to think about this, and the ones that came to mind were things that we kind of see everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't made for that movie. It was just used in a special way in that movie. And so when I was narrowing down my 5, it was really, what is something that was made for this movie that is so freaking iconic that I go back to it, and when I think of that movie, these are the 5 that I think of. And I think I landed on a pretty decent 5. I had to choose a couple that were different from yours, since I saw your list ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
We would have shared a couple, because I love a couple of yours. We are going to count down from 5 to 1, and I even set up this wonderful photo gallery so we can see Hunter's first pick, number 5 here. Why don't you go ahead and share that?
Nice. So as previously stated, I love Tarantino, and to have anything from one of his movies would be wonderful. But I went with the Can of the Wolf's Tooth dog food because I love the way it's used in the movie. It is such a, the first time you see it, when Cliff Booth is like putting the dog food in the bowl, it's a really weird like insert shot.
Yep. And
it's an unlikely setup. Like, you don't think, oh, he's showing you exactly the size, like the dimensions, and from hearing the sound it makes when it lands in the bowl, you're getting an idea of what the weight is.
Yeah.
And so when he finally, during the climax, when he launches the can at that hippie's face, you know the impact of it because you know the weights and the dimensions of the product. And I think that is awesome that he took the time and like thought to do that, because it is a shot early, like the first time you see it, it draws attention to itself and it feels kind of weird, but he did it for a reason, and I think it just works so well.
The payoff in the end is so satisfying after just that earlier. Yeah, this is a great pick. I think for Tarantino, there's a lot that you could have gone with. Obviously, there's some iconic ones from over the years. Red Apple cigarettes would have been an easy one. But man, this is the fact that they deliver it in the beginning and then it pays off at the end. This is a great pick. My number 5 is the Ghost Trap from Ghostbusters. The fact that they made something so believable, and that we watch this film, and obviously, ghosts aren't real, but you're looking at something that's cobbled together with who knows what. I mean, somebody that's in some of the making ofs, they probably know exactly what was used to put this together, but it feels like it has heft. It feels like it has weight. They make it appear as if a ghost is in it afterwards, and it looks like nothing else. And one of the coolest things is that they released that 4K set last year that looks so damn like this set, like this actual item. I love it. Ghostbusters is a classic, obviously, but I wanted to go something with this that it felt real, even though it felt so janky. I mean, this group of people that had no money basically put together something that could capture ghosts. Like, it is the coolest way to deliver something like this in a comedy. I love Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Number 4.
All right, so number 4, obviously this is the doll from Dario Argento's Deep Red. And I love Argento. I keep going back and forth with who I like more, Lucio Fulci or Dario Argento. Right now, it is Argento, and so if I'm able to collect something from an Argento movie, this is just the first thing that came to my mind. I think just the design of this is just so weird. Now, I almost went with the mask from Phenomena. That the like the that Dario Nicolodi, her son, that
Yeah.
mask is so strange also. But I think to be able to have something like this from such a important movie, I think would be amazing.
Yeah, and I imagine that this original piece was creepy as hell in person as well, which would have
Yeah.
played a big part in choosing this. I love Deep Red. I'm glad that this is on at least one of our lists. This is a stupendous pick. With Argento, I was trying to think of some other things, and one of the ones I love Suspiria, I love opera, but nothing from those really would make me go, I have to pick that. There's nothing really from Suspiria. Maybe the peacock imagery near the end, or whatever. But then from opera, like the imagery that's associated with it is the needles under the eyes, and that's just tape and needles. Like,
Yeah.
there's not great iconic imagery for those. This is a really good choice, and for Argento, I don't know that you can have a better choice. This is just a stupendous pick. My number 4, I forgot the order I went in. Oh, I went with the bone organ from the Goonies. Now, I am huge on music, and when I was growing up and watching the Goonies every other day, like a lot of people around my age, this was probably my favorite part of the entire film. The way that they frame this as just this like haunted actual musical instrument, and how music played such a big part of my life growing up, and then moving on to adulthood with actual bands, and with actual participating in bands as much as I could, and helping write music and all that. Stan, you're the one that would make the bone organ joke. I love that. This is just perfectly designed. Like, the way that it is shown as being played in the film, it is actually creepy. It is done in a way that, again, it's believable for the lore behind this scene. And I just love this. I think a replica of this would be incredible to have in a house.
Yeah, it is awesome. That is a really good pick.
I love the way it's set up, but I got to admit, looking back at it now, the top half of it looks very Games of Thronesy.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Either way, let's go to your number 3.
All right. So I adore David Lynch. And I was thinking of, like, I have to have something from a Lynch movie. And the first thing that came to mind was actually the blue box and the key from Mulholland Drive.
See, I almost went with the Eraserhead Baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought about the Eraserhead Baby, but then but Blue Velvet is my favorite Lynch movie. And I decided I had to go with the ear. And I actually think the line is really funny when Kyle MacLachlan brings the ear to the detective, and the detective looks in the bag and he says, "That's a human ear, all right." And for some reason, the delivery of that line I just love. But yeah, I love Lynch, and I'd love to have this ear.
Love that sentence taken out of context. Yeah, there's a lot from Lynch that I wanted to go with. I let you have yours. I don't think I had anything other than the Eraserhead Baby that really was going to mean as much to me. With some of the others, there was, the blue box maybe, but a lot of the other stuff, I don't know. It's just not quite as iconic as the ear. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, the ear is Blue Velvet. This is what people look back on and go, yeah, this is the film. There was a oh gosh, I think it's Bill Ackerman did a Blue Velvet podcast for a little while, and there's a few people that have made the pilgrimage and like walked through the field where the ear was, and just like, man, I'm here, and I love stuff like that. I would love to
Yeah.
go back and watch that again. My number three, I went, of course, with the lament configuration from Hellraiser. Let me make this a little bigger. Obviously, this is a great pick for me because I love horror. I love puzzles. I love the way that they built this. I love that they actually sculpted this out of mahogany and made it super nice. I love that this is used to literally summon the Cenobites. I love that this is the centerpiece for all of the lore for this wild out there horror franchise that is insane when you're looking back on it in 2023. Like, forget all of the shit sequels. Just like the first three are great. I think most people would agree with that. But even the first couple after that, they get so like oddly sexual, and they get so just the way they draw you into the imagery in this, and really take some of the imagery that was terrifying for society at the time and made it so just deeply unsettling in this series. There's so many scenes that are gory or uncomfortable even, and this fucking puzzle box is the centerpiece of all of it. I love Hellraiser, especially the first one, and the second one's amazing too. But this is one that without this, it's literally just a solid little block. But the movie itself turns this into something so different. But the fact again that they literally sculpted like 40 of these for each movie by hand is amazing, and they would have to be careful with it and try to catch it so that they wouldn't break. Like, that is amazing to go through that much detail.
Yeah, that is amazing. Especially, I mean, having to do this 40 times. But yeah, that's really cool.
Number two, and for yours, it's the glass unicorn from Black Christmas.
Now, I say unicorn. Now, is it a unicorn or a Pegasus?
I had the same question, and I looked at it closer, and I've always called it a unicorn, but I don't know. I mean, this is just so cool. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, now, if we had done a favorite movies episode, Black Christmas would have been talked about. It is in my top 10. I love this movie. And this is such an iconic.
Civitor says a Pegasus has wings and it doesn't have a horn, but
Oh,
well, first of all, we don't have the entire body, so I don't know if it has wings or not.
that's true. But it's such an iconic weapon in that scene. With this is like the Margot Kidder, death scene is so good. And yeah, I mean, I would love to own anything from Black Christmas, but this is definitely like the coolest thing, the coolest prop, I would say, in the movie.
This is one of those films that stuck with me for the longest time when I first saw it. I mean, the biggest thing for me is that through this entire movie, there's somebody suffocated up in the closet of this film, and nobody knows. I love this movie. I love that we don't dive deep into who the killer is. But then at the same time, I also really like the 2006 remake and how much we see of the killer and how unsettling that killer is.
Yeah.
This movie is amazing, ahead of its time, subversive, very progressive, and just made in this very, very off the wall style. I mean, the whole the Margot Kidder character juxtaposing with the head lady, whatever she's called, where there's booze everywhere in the house. Like, that relationship alone is so different than you would expect. And with a weapon like this, everything is on the table. Like, there is nothing that the killer in this movie wouldn't do, and it's just gross, basically.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Billy, I mean, the killer is like, he's such an amazing character, and has like, you really just see like one eye and then a silhouette. But yeah, the phone calls, like, I mean, the voice acting is amazing. And I know it's one guy did most of it, but aren't there like 3 people that kind of contributed something like that?
I believe I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
amazing.
they needed somebody bigger for the silhouette because they wanted him to be more intimidating looking. I think that was one of them.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. My number 2. What? Oh, I think this is another musical piece. Yep. The the drill guitar from Sorority House Massacre 2. So again, music means so much to me that not only is my number 2 music related, but also my number 1 is music related. And this, you cannot argue with the iconic imagery from Sorority House Massacre 2. This is I just realized I was saying Sorority House Massacre 2. I meant Slumber Party Massacre 2. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place because I was listening to another interview on Sorority House Massacre earlier today. This is one that the guitar itself is wild. If there wasn't a drill attached to it, the guitar itself is insane. But then the kills in this movie that utilize the guitar are so unhinged, so weird, so randomly gory. Like, this movie is so different than the first one.
Yeah.
This movie is crazy. You're saying, have you seen this one?
Oh yeah. I really
Good.
like this movie, actually. I think it's fun.
Good. Yeah, this is one that if you have not seen it, really recommend it. The 4K that came out from Scream Factory, it's actually a pretty good disc. There is not much on the disc, but you get both films in 4K. This movie, if you didn't like the first one, this isn't hardly anything like the first Slumber Party Massacre. This is very, very different and tonally different, directed different, acted different, gory compared to the first one. But again, it's a driller killer, and this guitar is so iconic that I could not imagine how amazing this would look hung up on your wall.
This is an awesome choice. This is a fun movie. I almost feel like I wish that Vinegar Syndrome had actually gotten Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Yes.
I feel like they could have given this kind of the release it deserves.
Yeah.
But I think I will get this 4K at some point, because I'd like to have. I think I have the Slumber Party Massacre. I have the Steelbook, but yeah, I'd like to get that 4K.
Nice. All right, your number 1.
All right, so there are, for some reason, there are 7 wonders of the world. Right?
I love how you're starting this.
I don't know who made this list, or who decided what goes on it. But if they decide to add an 8th, this won't be an option, but I will check the other box and write in the skeleton couch from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This is an inspired choice. This
whole scene is filled with amazing props. I mean, there's the skull, like, kind of like rotating skull with like the crown of feathers, and it's like the most unsettling version of a child's mobile toy of all time.
Yep.
And then the camera kind of pans over, like, to the kind of like the legs of the couch, and goes over to the arm, and then it cuts back to a wide shot, and you see the whole thing. It cuts back to this shot, and it is so awesome. Yeah, and Robert Burns, I mean, the work I think he was he production designer? He might just be credited as the art director on the movie, but his work on the movie is amazing.
Yeah, I think that he did some of the things that made this feel the most uncomfortable, and that it really works on rewatch when you're not watching it for the first time and feeling the actual terror that comes from Leatherface in this film. You're actually able to absorb the backgrounds and the things that are so freaking creepy. And even this, like, this just, it looks like a stylized couch that somebody might have in their house, until you realize these are freaking victims of this family
Yeah.
making up their furniture. Like, this is so unhinged. And to have like the Texas sun beating down through the window behind it, I can't imagine some of the smells in this house. And just, the glance that you get from this, and then the wide pan, it's enough to make you think, oh, that's weird, that's, oh god, and then it just hits you. So many things in this film are that sort of, I don't know, sleazy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, this is it's just amazing. It's just the coolest thing. And I think the a lot of the like pieces that were made were exhibited in a museum in Texas for a while. I doubt that's still the case at this point, but this would have been like worth a trip to be able to see these things in person.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. And I know that the ownership of the house has changed hands so many times, but yeah, I would love to see a lot of the stuff from down there. I did want to point out before I go to my number one, Dave actually calls out one that I almost included, was something from Phantom of the Paradise. I love Phantom of the Paradise and almost went with The Mask for that because it's so freaking just perfect.
Yeah.
It makes the perfect character. I love Phantom of the Paradise so much. Good call out there, Dave. But my number one, and let me make sure that it is actually on here properly before it fills the whole screen, because it's a really big picture. There we go. There it is. Okay. My number one, like I said, is musical related, and I had to go with one of the best films from the last 10 years, the Doof Warriors flame-throwing electric guitar from Mad Max Fury Road. This thing like captured my film-loving heart when I saw this in the theater, and I loved everything about this. Like the amount of crazy speakers attached to this that were so unbelievably pointless, guaranteed. This is so not needed. And then you start looking into some of the details, and like the dude is standing on the front end of an old car here, and the fact that they did this practically, that is
Yeah.
the thing that I love. The behind the scenes shots of this, there is a guy standing there playing a flame throwing guitar. Like, this is real. How I couldn't pick anything else. The moment that we started talking about props, I went, the thing that I would pay, like if I had $2,500 and somebody made a replica of this that was identical, I would pay for that in a heartbeat and put it up on my wall. I would love this. This is just the moment that this came on the screen and I was in that theater, I knew that I was going to love this probably more than any film that I'd seen that year, and it's been easily top 5 since that year, for film, at least theater experiences for me. And this movie still holds. I cannot wait to see which we're getting something else from that world here soon, supposedly.
Yeah.
Furiosa should be great, and yeah, this is amazing. I love the Mad Max stuff. I love that this looks so iconic from this film and that people liked it. I'm just glad it was successful and that he was back and not doing Happy Feet or whatever the hell else he
Yeah.
did for a while.
No,
So
this
that's
is
the list.
one. Yeah, I love Mad Max Fury Road also. And it is amazing. I mean, it's crazy that George Miller was like 74 when he made that.
Yes. And here we are 10 years later, and he's making another one.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Were there any others that almost made your list that you want to bring up?
Well, oddly enough, I almost put in a nostalgic choice. The a TGRI ooze canister from Turtles 2. That almost made it in. And in fact, if we had disqualified the Black Christmas prop, because that one it's hard to find if that was actually made for the movie, then I maybe would have gone with that. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I was thinking about.
The only other ones other than the Phantom and the Phantom mask that I was talking about. I kind of considered for a moment because I looked around my room because I've got some replica stuff. I've got some like stone pieces that were in some films. One of the things that caught my eye is the little pint container that I have for Larry Cohen's The Stuff. I love The Stuff. I love that movie, and I know that the first time I saw it, just taken aback by the I think this is the movie that got me into like practical blob melt effects and really loving that. So that could have been up there. I really would have loved the shunt from Society, which is really weird to say, but I don't even know if you count that as a prop since it's mostly just prosthetics on a bunch of people. But there's so much that's made for these films, but is really only it's really only something that is enhanced from real life. So there are things like I saw somebody a few minutes ago mentioned the typewriter from The Shining. It's
Mm,
great, but it
yeah.
wasn't made for that film. It was just a regular typewriter that they used, and it was iconic from the film. Oh, there we go. Griff says, "Can't believe nobody mentioned Shelley Duvall's cigarette from The Shining." Like, obviously, it's iconic, but it's just a cigarette. It's not something that was made for that specifically, which is what we were going for. If we were going for things that were, taken from real life, even Lebowski's rug could have been one that you were looking
Yeah.
at much closer. There's a lot we could have used. Either way, I think these are great lists. The stuff is one that I might regret for not including. But other than that,
Oh, I just thought of one actually. Um, One of a movie I used to watch a ton when I was a kid was Zulu. Are you familiar with that movie?
I am. Yeah,
Okay. And the spear and shield that the Zulus have,
yeah.
now those were definitely not made for the movie. And that's why I didn't choose it.
Right.
But the like the sound they make when they like pound the spears on the shield is that would just be a great thing to have at the
To be able
house.
to make the sound.
Like if your favorite team scores a touchdown, you start pounding on the spear. Um, but no, that was something else that I thought about because that was kind of a childhood favorite.
I want to see the news report of somebody trying to break into your house, and you're sitting there with this shield and spear.
Yeah.
Just get away. Hopefully, you've seen Zulu and you recognize this. Yeah, I mean, these are great. I see a couple others mentioned here. The amulet from Monster Squad, that's a good one. Ice says the inflatable co-pilot from Airplane, that's a great one. The cube from Cube, the Holy Grail from Last Crusade. I think somebody earlier said the sphere from Phantasm, another great choice, another
Oh
one that I
yeah.
looked at. And that was the hard thing because there's so many like masks, and maybe one of these days we'll have a guest that wants to do top 5 masks or something like that. But a lot of those they were used in something else, and I couldn't really think of one that meant that much to me that I wanted to use. But I kind of I was mentioned prosthetics a minute ago. I think it'd be fun to do best prosthetics or 5 favorite prosthetic usages.
Yeah.
Um, I could see somebody going going with the balls from Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Or
Now, you know what would be a great one is Watto from Total Recall.
yep,
That
that
would
would
be
be.
great.
Paul says the exploded head from Scanners. The mask from Terror Train, that's a good one.
Mhm.
The Halloween 3 masks, that'd be a big one. The balls from Waiting. Oh god, Waiting is so raunchy. Dirk, yeah, that was the obvious is Dirk Diggler's package. This has been fun though. I think you picked a great topic. Love the list, and yeah, this has been a good night, my friend. Thanks for hopping on again.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. I had a lot of fun.
I know you got to wake up in like 2.5 hours.
Well, I'm gonna sleep in. I normally wake up at 3. I try to work out before my kids wake up, but no, I'll probably sleep. I'll sleep till hopefully 5 or 5:30 whenever they wake up.
Nice. Uh, as a little tease, since I've been doing that on the last few times, the interview coming out next week, I mentioned this guy multiple times tonight. Eric D. Wilkinson from MVD is going to be on the channel next Monday, and it's a pretty fun interview. If you've ever heard him in an interview before, he is a collector that is running a company from the inside and doing things because he loves collecting. Like the way that he sets up the entire company is because of how he looks at it as a collector. So if you're interested in that, come check it out. We talk about everything from the new 4K line they're doing to the GG Allen estate that they own the rights to, and some other fun pieces in there. And that'll be out on Monday. And yeah, some other stuff dropping soon, like I said. And thank you all. Thank you again, Hunter. This has been incredible. And we'll see everybody next week.
All right,
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.